Here are 8 free-to-play Hearthstone decks that you can use to hit Legend. This first Shaman deck doesn't use any legendaries at all. It's the Burn Shaman, where your goal is to use your damaging spells and freeze minions to ruin your opponent's day. You do this with the help of Snowfall Guardian to stall the board, and then use your damaging spells to burn your opponent down. This next Quest Hunter deck will give you a break from playing the same meta decks while also being free to play friendly. You'll first notice that this deck uses 2 legendaries, but you can take out Cthulhu and put in Ram Tamer if you don't have them. Don't be afraid to edit any of these decks too. They're adjusted for free to play players, so they'll not always run the most optimal cards. Your goal with this deck is to complete the quest and not get aggroed on, and then use the quest reward to win. Pirate Warrior is our next deck, and it's dominating the standard meta right now. Game plan's simple: complete the quest and be aggro. The Juggernaut will help you win games you're not supposed to as well. If you didn't buy the United in Stormwind mini set, I'd recommend you do it with in-game gold, because then you'll get Mr. Smite, which you can use for this deck. If you want, you can also use Alexstrasza for free if you don't have the gold. Speaking of games you're not supposed to win, here's a Mozaki Mage deck. You first use cards like Incanter's Flow and Siphon Mana to discount the cost of your spells. Then you use your cheap card draw along with Mozaki to OTK your opponent. It's more of a you gotta watch it sort of thing to understand. I've got videos on not just Mozaki Mage, but every single one of these decks on my channel. So if you want to see these decks in action and also want more Hearthstone deck ideas, then you should subscribe. Aggro Druid's core cards are the most expensive from all of these decks, but I also believe it's the deck that when played properly will give you the best results. The deck uses low cost minions to put pressure on your opponent in the early game, then uses cards like Arbor Up and Claw Fury Adept to burst down your opponent. They also have Oracle of Elune and Drekthar for board refill. This is the only deck I would recommend that you craft all of the cards for. Elemental Shaman has lots of playstyles, but here are 2. The first one revolves around tempoing out minions to constantly pressure your opponent. Then you finish off your opponent with your spells and damage dealing minions. It's actually surprising how many good and cheap Shaman decks you can make from just their core and common cards. Just like this Aggro Elemental Shaman deck. It's one of the cheapest decks you can build. It uses Doomhammer and hero attack buffing cards to deal massive face damage to your opponent in one turn. Instead of a minion based deck like the previous Elemental Shaman, you use your minions to help set up for Doomhammer and win that way. Face Hunter uses low cost minions to deal damage in the early game and their hero power and spells to finish off their opponents. This deck has a lot of different cards that you can use to make it your own, like Barrack Kodovein and Ringling's Rifle. So go out and be creative. Don't forget to check out these videos right here for these decks in action. And if you want to support me get more videos out to you faster, along with exclusive perks, then check out my Patreon. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you around.